It's a sporting triumph, so sweet it's miraculous. Why? Because Pacific Super Rugby teams are now picking players straight from the villages of Samoa and Fiji. And Miracle Failagi is our main man. Think about it. No corrupt officials from the Samoa, Tonga and Fijian unions. They can't get their fingers in the cookie jar because the Drua and Moana Pasifika have proper oversight. The Manu Samoa team is full of Kiwi-raised players. The Flying Fijians are mostly overseas-based players, but for the first time in the history of rugby, Pacific players born and raised in the islands can play for island professional teams in their home nation. But the real catch, these island-born and raised players are world-class. When Ardie Savea announced he was heading to Moana Pasifika, the traditional rugby media lost its collective mind. Career suicide, wasting his prime years, some confidently declared in PR undertones. Funny how those same loud voices have gone dead silent now, isn't it? But in 2025, with far improved ball carrying, stronger set piece work, other great signings, far better defensive schemes and genius offense, Moana looks like a genuine contender already.
I just see it as a disrespect to the Moana Pasifika team. For the brothers that are listening and the team, like, what an awesome motivation. So organizations telling you that, or telling me that I'm going to be a real soft player playing at Moana when I go into the All Blacks, like, that just riles me up.
Despite his assured and calm tone, this wasn't a memo to Super Rugby. This was a warning, a shot across the bow of every other team in Super Rugby. Moana's coming, and if you aren't at the top of your game, you're losing. Instead of struggling, the collective of burgeoning and established world-class players, new coaching and management has seen Moana tear through the competition. What's scary? Savea's presence has created a gravitational pull for talent. Players who might have hesitated about joining Moana are reportedly now lining up for the chance to play alongside him. Imagine Pat Pellegrini and Richie Mo'unga pulling the strings for Moana next year. Back to our gun, the man from Waiala, Samoa, the Miracle Failagi, picked up 3 years ago by Moana from a standout performance at World Rugby's Pacific Combine. Miracle has been excellent alongside the world's best player, Ardie Savea. Whether it's in the tight and the wide channels, Miracle's almost like a taller Ardie clone cyborg running around destroying everything in front of them, and it's the success of Miracle in particular that should give all the Pacific tons of hope for the future of the game. For too long, a dirty secret has lingered around Pacific Rugby. The talent pipeline and the national teams have been choked by corruption, mismanagement, and crippling power structures that kept the islands subservient to traditional rugby powers. Money mysteriously disappears, resources never reach grassroots level, political appointments over qualified candidates. The stories would make your blood boil if you care about the game. The genius of Moana Pasifika and the Drua, they've created a direct pathway that completely bypasses these broken bureaucracies. As boring and cliche as it sounds, the people behind the scenes deserve enormous credit for pulling it off. For Moana, legendary former All Blacks lobbied, world-class consultants and figures at the top of their game used all their experience and talent. New Zealand Rugby played hardball to protect the competition, and the New Zealand government helped get the team off the ground. It's a very similar story for the Drua, a masterclass in private business, consultants in Fijian and Australian government collaboration, and like we said earlier, the dream of island players finally not having to leave the islands to become world-class players is finally a reality. Because we all know Saffers and Europeans love complaining about the All Blacks poaching and pillaging the island talent when nearly the whole All Black team's born or raised in New Zealand. But how can New Zealand and Australia help develop unions that are so historically corrupt and inept they can't even pay their own national team's players? That's where the mana of Moana and Drua lies. People that truly care about Pacific Rugby putting a fork in the road and saying, hey, there's enough talent and smarts around to do this, let's all put our heads together and make this work. If there's a player that personifies the missed opportunities, it's current Manu Samoa captain and Saracens superstar, Theo McFarland. Born and raised in Samoa, Theo's like a bulkier version of Miracle. Fast, excellent with ball in hand, bone-crunching defender, can jump out of the gym. But his rugby CV, the Samoan born and raised talent played in China, Australia, was contracted to MLR team Dallas Jackals, then miraculously got picked up by Saris. Samoan fans watching this can see it right now. A Moana Beshro of Theo McFarland, Ardie Savea and Miracle. That hypothetical lineup is probably the best back row in international rugby, but you could make the case for all the Fiji internationals playing overseas too. One of the most stunning parts of Moana's rise has been watching players who excelled at NPC level suddenly explode at Super Rugby level. Players who were on the fringes of Kiwi Super Rugby teams excelling in the Moana machine. Take Moana prop, hat-trick hero against the Waratahs. The gun's been on the fringes of Super Rugby, and now with Moana, he's in the perfect system. Faith, culture, hard work, coached by former players who were excellent in their day. What could go wrong? The wild success of Moana this year exposes serious questions about talent identification methods across Super Rugby. How many other players are being overlooked because they don't fit traditional New Zealand or Australian rugby frameworks? The prime example is Ardie Savea. If you watched our last video on the channel, we waxed lyrical about Steve Hansen not wanting to pick Ardie over Sam Cane. Look at Ardie now. Have you ever seen a flanker play like this? Out wide in the tight stepping, bumping, fending, smashing every ball carrier. This must be one of the greatest Super Rugby seasons by a player ever. But Ardie never quite fit the traditional mould of an All Black 7. Playing Ardie at 8 always looked more like fitting all the All Blacks' best players into the starting 15 than Ardie playing his best position. Sam's bone-crunching front on tackling was always favoured over Ardie's all-action game. The whole Moana team are a who's who of players on the fringes of the 5 Kiwi super teams. The warrior halfback Jonathan Tomataine is another. From his Chiefs debut and spluttering appearances for the Canes, JT has been the unsung hero in Moana's 2025 breakthrough campaign. And how can we miss former Coventry star and now Moana's superstar 5'8", Patrick Pellegrini. Pat wasn't picked up by the Waratahs, so he went to second division rugby in England. In my opinion, Patrick's been one of the best 10s in the comp, but here's what should send chills down the spines of their opponents. Moana are already winning matches despite this particular weakness. Set piece time. In the thrilling loss to the Chiefs, it was the scrum that lost it. The Chiefs abused Moana there. They did their homework after watching Moana dismantle the force and take the Reds head on. But the Chiefs scrum killed all of Moana's attacking chances in that first half demolition. But remember what happened in the second? The Chiefs had built what looked like an unbeatable lead. Moana got within a score of the Chiefs. The Chiefs were lucky to escape with a win. Imagine if Moana's scrum was firing on all cylinders from the opening whistle. Then imagine if Ikalatahi, Mana Samoa and the Flying Fijians had scrum and line-out parity with the Box, All Blacks, Les Bleus in England. The number of close matches the island teams have lost against the best teams simply because they didn't have enough attacking possession is mind-boggling. Go back to Fiji's close loss to England at the 2023 World Cup. It's the scrum and line-out where if the Fijians could have won more of their own feeds and throws, in my opinion, the Fijians win and go through to the World Cup semi, while Moana and the Drua programs go from strength to strength. A global battle for Pacific talent rages with increasing intensity. Cash-strapped French clubs in particular have been almost shameless in their direct recruitment from Fiji. The so-called academy systems identify players as young as 15. Whilst everyone is happy a young foller can make a living for himself and his family with a career in rugby, it's the lack of development in the game for the island countries themselves that should be frowned upon. The worst thing about these academies, some young Fijians are taken to France but never signed as contracted players, then discarded if they get season-ending injuries. The props that make it are kept in France. The players the island teams are always short on. A lot of players sign deals where they can't play for Fiji. The pivot 9s and 10s are thrown on the wings, never developing into the playmakers they should be. But now the Drua have the likes of Armstrong Ravula and Frank Lomani. While the Drua aren't having the best season, these gun 9s and 10s are developing crucial experience in the white-hot pressure of Super Rugby, and they're playing prime time on Fijian TV, showing all the talented young players there's a pathway for them with the Drua. Australia and New Zealand rugby's Pacific strategies deserve both credit and scrutiny. Supporting Drua and Moana's entry into Super Rugby was visionary, but is NZR truly invested in strengthening Samoa, Fiji and Tonga internationally, or simply protecting its talent pipeline from European raiders? The answer likely lies somewhere in between, but Moana and Drua's success is forcing greater authenticity in this relationship. Up ahead though, a huge battle that lies in the coming generations of New Zealanders, and Moana is the tip of the spear in New Zealand rugby's strategy. While rugby playing numbers for males has steadily declined this century, there's another population trend that NZR is battling to prepare for: Asian migration. By 2043, it's estimated around half of Auckland's population will be Asian. The forecasts are similar for all of New Zealand's big metropolitan areas, but let's face it, when it comes to rugby, Pacific Islanders versus Asians, one race's genetics are easily superior in the realm of oval ball contact sports. Look at the Japanese national team, full of Pacific Islanders that make the Japanese fellas look small. Does this mean Asian Kiwis aren't passionate or don't love the All Blacks as much as non-Asian Kiwis? Definitely not. Everyone who lives in New Zealand knows it's impossible not to love the All Blacks. But as NZR looks over the oceans to plan for the next decade's storms, they know that Pacific participation and rugby success, especially in New Zealand's metropolitan cities, is crucial to the All Blacks' success. Look at Ardie Savea in Christchurch. Who was the one player that got mobbed by the Christchurch crowd after a Crusaders game in Christchurch? Ardie Savea. All the All Blacks got asked for a few signatures, but in the heartland of the Crusaders, it was the Moana and All Black superstar getting mobbed by the home crowd. Not All Black captain Scott Barrett or Crusaders legend Cody Taylor, but the man himself, Ardie Savea. He's the player every young kid wants to be: strong, fast, lean, almost superhuman. But it's not just the incredible way he plays, it's his open personality on social media off the field. It's that you can follow a lot of his business ventures and see how he trains. Heck, he even invites the public to train with him sometimes. It's that he openly and unashamedly shares his faith. Ardie always seems to be playing for a cause far bigger than himself, a bigger purpose. Something we all need to remind ourselves of sometimes, especially in the crazy world of social media. Ardie speaks to the heart of this generation of Kiwi young people like no other, and that's where NZR sees the All Blacks and rugby succeeding in the battlegrounds for talent. Beyond the scoreboard, Moana Pasifika is trying to spark a cultural revolution in how rugby engages with its communities. The feeling is that professional rugby in New Zealand offers a dull game day experience. In Auckland, this has been heavily challenged. And again, it's the so-called outsiders challenging the status quo. Moana's introduced car park Gibrai to their home games at North Harbour Stadium. Auckland FC crowds are sports passion personified, and the Warriors are a guaranteed night of entertainment with the passionate crowds, the amazing Up the Waz movement, and low ticket prices. So where does that leave the Blues and rugby in general? Can they stop from beating them on and off the field? They probably can, but that's the thing with the talent and dedication of this Moana team. Any kind of miracle is possible. Remember to like and subscribe. I hope you have a blessed day.